friends, it's Allison. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a fun video where I actually use markers and not die cuts. That's exciting. I'm going to be showing you this really cool cling stamp and how versatile it is. So here are the two cards that I'll be making, and you can see right here how different they are. So we're just going to jump in and look at the main product. This is the Mod Leaf Cling Stamp from Simon Says Stamp. This was released maybe a couple months ago. And so you can see I've stamped it, and I stamped it with Memento Tuxedo black ink so that I could use my alcohol markers. And I'm leaving the stamp in my MISTI, and I stamped it on this bigger piece of paper. So coloring this could not have been easier, which of course is my jam. So I've used a mix of OLO markers and Copic markers, and you can see I'm just doing one color at a time, and it goes really fast. It just becomes kind of an assembly line of colors, and there I'd finished with my last color. All right, now I'm putting it back in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp with black pigment ink, and that's going to really sharpen up these lines, especially if I went over some of that ink with my alcohol markers. And that's why I left my cling stamp in my MISTI, and I used that bigger piece of paper so I could put it right back into the corner where I had originally stamped it. And so now things look a lot more sharp and crisp and pretty beautiful, right? So here I have trimmed it down, and I took care to, try to get the design even all the way around. And I have this sentiment that I had stamped for a card, I don't know, several months ago that I never used. And I stamped it on vellum with black ink, and I heat embossed it. So this is the Hi There Greetings. You can see that's the stamp that I used. And you can see it has a little white frame around it. Well, that's not going to work for this card, but I'm going to show you how I made that little white frame. I used this die from my A2 Layers die set from Waffle. This is one of the workhorses in my craft room. And I did partial die cutting. So I had just cut a white rectangle, the size that I needed it, and then I cut the opening using partial die cutting. And I will show you how I did that because I need the frame to be bigger because this is stamped on vellum. I need to lift it with foam tape. So I'm going to put a bigger frame around it. And here you can see I've cut a black rectangle, and that is going to be the size, the outside size of my frame. So here's the black rectangle, and here's that very same die that I had originally used, and I'm going to do some partial die cutting. So I'm just going to run it through a little bit. I'm not running it through all the way. That's why I'm not worried about where my top plate is positioned. So now you can see that it just partially cut it. So now all I have to do is place it back on there, and it's going to click into the sides where I had already cut. Now I'm positioning my top plate over only the part that I want, and the part that I already cut is hanging out. It will not cut, and I didn't even run it all the way through, but I could have, because the only thing that would have cut would have been whatever was underneath that top plate. So here I'm going to show you the frame, as long as I can get the tape off, and there it is. So now I am going to just glue it right on top of that white frame. And really easy. Again, the interior part of both of these frames was the same because I used that same die. So now I can come in with foam tape, and I'm using black foam strips from Waffle. And I love these foam strips. They come in different widths. So that you can see this sheet of foam strips beneath my sentiment. So now I can pull them off and position the sentiment. And again, I wanted it popped up because this was stamped on vellum, and I want you to see through the sentiment, but I want you to be able to read it. And speaking of reading, I have a black Sharpie. Some of my embossing it wasn't a great job. There was kind of a hole. So I just filled it in with a Sharpie, and you'll never know that letter O had a gap in it. So there is my finished card. I really love it. I know that people have said it looks like stained glass. I guess I agree. All right, so here I have, this is the card that I actually finished several months ago. I have colored my leaves in different rainbow colors, and I went for an ombre look. And now I am just going to fussy cut these out. Now I'm not going to fussy cut each leaf out. I'm going to cut these all out together. So this turquoise, blue, and purple, I'm going to cut all of these out together. And I don't love fussy cutting, you know, who loves fussy cutting? But when you have a thick black line like you do on this stamp, it's really not that bad. So here you see me carefully going around. And honestly, the hardest thing about this card probably was picking the colors. And I will have the colors listed on my blog, so look for the link below to my blog. I did use a mix of OLO markers and Copics again for this card. I think the yellows were like the hardest ones for me to find, you know, the right combination of light to dark. So here I have those two pieces, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm just kind of testing it out and seeing how it looks. And now I'm going to take a black marker and I'm going to go around the edges of all these, because when you fussy cut something that you've stamped, you can see on the purple one that I'm doing, it leaves white edges. So if you really want it to look finished, just simply take a black marker and go around the image and voila. All right, now I have a white card base, and I am going to put it in my MISTI. I have a grip mat in here, and I am going to put my leaves on there just so I know where I want to put my sentiment. Now, I didn't end up using this card base, you'll see later, but this is what I'm starting with. So the stamp is from the Big Old Birthday stamp set. This is also from Simon Says Stamp. This was released maybe this past summer. I don't know. I lose track of time a lot. So I'm just going to position that and stamp it with black pigment ink once I have it all lined up. So again, I didn't end up using this card base, but I did use this panel, and I just cut it out and put it on a black card base. You'll see that shortly. And there you see it, because I think I lost some footage. Right now I'm putting on some gems that kind of match the colors of the leaves. And I just glued these leaves down. I didn't pop them up. I didn't put foam tape or anything. I just glued them down and tried to match them up as much as I could. So I'm pointing at where they join up. And is it perfect? No, you can kind of tell that's where they join and the spacing is a little different, but probably just because I pointed it out. I love how this came out. I had a lot of fun making this card. I love just coming up with different ideas and stretching my supplies. I hope this gave you some inspiration. Take a look at your cling stamps, and maybe there are some in your stash that you can cut apart and make a different design with. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate all of you. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you next time.